All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we are diving into a classic monster story, but this one has a huge philosophical twist hiding just beneath the surface. We're going to see how one single comic book issue completely flipped a simple character on his head and made everyone, including us, the readers, question what identity even means.
Yeah, this is it. This is the big question at the heart of what is, honestly, one of the most groundbreaking stories in comics, period. It's the story that took a kind of straightforward monster and turned him into this incredible, complex puzzle about what it even means to be, well, to be you. Okay, so to really get why the big twist in this story hits so hard, we gotta go back to the beginning. We need to understand the original setup. For a long, long time, Swamp Thing was the poster child for a very specific, very unsettling kind of fear, what we call body horror. So what is body horror? Well, it's that deep gut-level fear, you know? It's not about ghosts in the closet or anything like that. It's the absolute terror that comes from your own body turning against you. Think about movies like The Fly, right? Where the guy's mind is still in there, totally aware, but he's trapped, just forced to watch as his own body becomes something alien and monstrous. It's a terrifying thought. And that, for years, was the whole tragedy of Swamp Thing. The story was that the mind, the memories, the soul of a scientist named Alec Holland was trapped inside this huge walking plant monster. His human body was gone, and he was stuck in this new, horrifying form forever. Or so everyone thought. But then came the 1980s, and a writer named Alan Moore steps in, and in this one single legendary story called The Anatomy Lesson, he doesn't just poke holes in that origin story. Oh no. He takes a scalpel to it and just dissects it piece by piece until the entire myth is completely shredded. And the whole thing starts right here. Swamp Thing's body, lifeless, on a cold, sterile autopsy table. A scientist, a guy named Jason Woodrue, has been brought in to cut this thing open and figure out, what's going on inside. What makes this monster tick? So Woodrue starts the autopsy. And right away, the official story starts to fall apart. He finds things that kind of look like lungs and a heart and other human organs. But here's the kicker. They're not real. They're just crude copies made out of plant stuff. They're basically props. There's no way, absolutely no way, they could actually function or support a human life. The biology is all wrong. It just doesn't add up. I mean, a brain made out of tubers and vines, it couldn't possibly hold the complicated consciousness of a brilliant scientist. It's a massive contradiction, and it pushes Woodrue toward one single, absolutely horrifying conclusion. And here it is, Woodrue's big realization. The real Alec Holland, he died. He died in that lab explosion all those years ago. This creature lying on the table, it isn't a man who transformed. It's something brand new. It's a plant that just happened to absorb Holland's memories, his consciousness, and then it started to believe it was him. And boom. Just like that, with that one devastating line, the entire identity of the character just evaporates. The fear isn't about being a man trapped inside a monster anymore. No, the horror is way, way deeper. It's the terrifying idea that there was never a man there to begin with. So you see what happened? This incredible twist completely shifts the whole story. We've moved away from the physical, from body horror, into something much more in your head, something way more terrifying, called existential horror. Now, existential horror, that's a whole different beast. The fear isn't in your body, it's in your soul. It's that cold, creeping dread that everything, and I mean everything, that you think makes you, your memories, who you think you are, your entire past, what if it's all a complete lie? It's a crisis of your very being, not just your body. And this chart here really breaks it down perfectly. You can see the shift, right? The question is no longer what if my body wasn't my own, it's what if I am not who I think I am? That is so much scarier. He wasn't a man having a nightmare that he was a monster. The truth was, he was a monster who'd been having a pleasant dream that he was a man. So the big question is, how does a mind even begin to deal with that? A truth that literally shatters your entire existence. Well, the story gets into it, and it actually uses a couple of key philosophical ideas to explain this total mental breakdown. Okay, so first up, Swamp Thing has to face the fact that he's been living in what the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called bad faith. Basically, he's been lying to himself. He spent all those years pining for a human life that was never really his. He was living a total lie, something completely inauthentic to what he truly was, a plant elemental. And then there's the second part, which is maybe even worse. He goes through a complete loss of facticity. Okay, so facticity is just a fancy word for the concrete facts of our past, the things that make us who we are. And he realizes that all those memories he held so dear, being a kid, his job, his wife, none of it actually happened to him. They were just echoes, memories he soaked up from a man as he was dying. So just think about that for a second. If your past is a total lie, and your present is completely inauthentic, how on earth do you build a future? You can't. He's completely lost, just adrift in this empty psychological space with absolutely nothing to hold on to. So how does he get out of it? Well, the answer comes from a core idea in existentialism, and it's a big one. You are not your past. You are not defined by where you came from. You're defined by the choices you make right here, right now. The fancy term for this is existence precedes essence. But all it really means is that we're not born with some pre-programmed purpose or identity. We just exist first. That's it. And then, through our choices, through our actions, we create our own essence. We literally build ourselves from the ground up. And Swamp Thing's journey to get there is, well, it's agonizing. I mean, his mind literally breaks, and his body just shuts down, becomes an unthinking plant. But hitting rock bottom like that is what forces him to finally truly face the lie he's been living. And once he does that, he can start to build a new identity, a real one. This right here, this is the moment everything changes. He completely rejects the lie, and in doing that, he finds a new purpose. He stops wasting time being sad about a past that wasn't even his, and instead, he decides he's going to create his own future, his own way. And this is the whole point, right? This is why it all matters. The moment he lets go of the man he thought he was, he becomes free to be something so much bigger, so much more. He had to completely lose that fake self to find the real one underneath. Which, of course, leaves us with one last thought, kind of bringing this amazing comic book story right back home to us. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Maybe our true self isn't found in our past, in the stories we're told about ourselves. Maybe it's found in the person we choose to be, right now, today. So I'll leave you with this. If you found out your entire past was a lie, who would you choose to become?